Hello friends and welcome to week 3 of the Fort Worth Fabric Studio Sew Along Winter's Night. This week we are sewing up the hidden star block. Last week we did the snowflake blocks, which are on the wall behind me. You should have 2 of those, and this week we're going to make 3 star blocks. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to print out your instructions, and we're going to make this block here the hidden star block. It's a 12.5-inch square block when it's finished, or unfinished I should say, before it's sewn into the project. And we're going to make 3 of these. We're going to do one together today, and then I'll let you do the other 2 on your own. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make 12 half square triangles, and we're going to use piece A and piece C, and that are these 2 right here, to make half square triangles. So the shiny snowflake trees and the darker of the blue, well, the medium blue blender. And you're going to want to draw a line corner to corner. And we're doing the one at a time method. So you're going to have 12 pair of these, or 12 sets of these to sew. Started sewing it like we're doing 2 at a time. One at a time. So since we're doing 1 at a time, you're going to sew right on the line. And then we're going to cut a 1/4 inch from where we just sewed to cut that piece away. And it's a pretty good sized piece of fabric. So if you're someone who likes scraps, this would be a nice scrap piece for you. Okay. And then we're going to press these, and you can pick which fabric you're going to press towards. I think I'm going to press towards the more solid blue than the print. So I'm going to grab my pressing mat and my iron here. Put some magic juice on there. And give this a press. And then we're going to check the size of this when we're done. We should get a 4.5-inch half square triangle. You may need to measure it or to trim it down a little bit, or it may be just the right size. So we'll see. And one of my little squares went away. All right, so let's measure this guy. Oh, we are just about 4.5, so there's just a tiny bit to trim off here. Just a tiny, tiny bit. So I'm going to go around all 4 sides, even though there's literally just strings coming off, just to make sure it's nice and trimmed. And you're going to need 4 of these per block, or 12 altogether for all 3 blocks. All right, so there's our half square triangle. And then the next step is a square and a square, using these small 2.5-inch squares added to the 4.5-inch light background piece, or blender piece, I'm sorry. So we're going to add white on 2 of the corners and the darker blue on 2 of the corners. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew 2 at a time. So I'm going to sew the opposite corners first, trim those away, press them, and then we'll come back and do the other 2 opposite corners. So let's go to the sewing machine. And again, you're going to make 4 of these per block. Now these are going to be the sort of middle unit in the top and bottom row, and then on either side of the center block as well. I'm going to trim this. A 1/4 inch away. And then we'll press these 2 pieces and then add the last 2 corners. You want to press between each seam, that way everything comes out just perfect. Put some magic juice on there. Now also be careful not to stretch these triangles as you press them, so sort of gently press them. All right, now we will add our other 2 corners. So blue here and a white here. And again, you're making 4 of these per block. I'm just going to show you how to do this one. And 4 half square triangles per block. All right, we'll trim those. And we'll give this guy a press. Okay. So you should have per block 4 of these square to square units, or 12 altogether for all 3 blocks. Okay, so I've laid out all the pieces here for you to see. Make sure that the fabric in your half square triangle, the sparkly, snowy woods, is touching the centerpiece, and that the blue is going out. And then you want the white to touch the centerpiece as well, because that's going to make our star legs. And so lay out your block just like this. I've done 1 row, so we're going to sew the bottom row and the middle row together. So usually what I like to do when you have something that looks like a flying geese is I like to lay that piece on top so I can see where those stitches crossed and not lose my point. Now you can pin this if you want. I'm just going to sort of wing it. And I press the top row out, so I'm going to press this center row in. So I'm just going to give this a finger press for now until I can take it to the iron. But I'm going to sew both rows first, and then iron them both, and then we'll put the block together. And again, I'm going to finger press this just to make it start to lay in the direction I want it to go. And you can kind of see the star starting to form as well. So now we're going to do this bottom row. And pressing this one out just like I did the top row. So I'm going to go ahead and finger press that. And then add the last piece over here. And again, I'm sewing with the square and the square on the top so I can make sure that I don't cut off my points. Okay. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and magic juice both of these sets of seams and then press these, and then we can put the whole block together. And if you've got a bunch of pieces to take to your iron all at one time, and you're somebody who likes the Acorn Easy Press, that's what I'm calling the magic juice, you can do a bunch of seams. It doesn't dry that fast. Okay. You can put your liquid on a bunch of seams and then iron a whole bunch of pieces. It saves you a little bit of time if you can do multiple things in each step. Okay. All right. So now we can go ahead and sew this block together. So what I'm going to do, so I don't lose my points again, is the Flying Geese type unit. It's a square and a square, but it's got that cross. I'm going to sew that on top. So I make sure that I sew just to this side where those threads cross, and we don't lose our star point. Give that a little bit of a finger press, and then we'll do this other side, and then we can press the whole block. And you can pin all these intersections together if you like. That's the only reason I'm slowing down, is just to line up my intersections. Alrighty. And there we go. All right, I'm gonna give this a press, and then I will come back and show you guys the block completely finished. Well, thank you so much for sewing along with me today. As you can see on the wall behind me, I've got my 2 snowflake blocks, and actually have all 3 of my hidden star blocks. So there's 2 back there, and I've got the one that we did together right here, all pressed. Came out really, really nice. I love this fabric, so pretty. Of course, you guys know I love the blues. So once you finish all these blocks, you're going to be all set for next week, and we can assemble this runner. Really looking forward to seeing how this comes out. This fabric is gorgeous, and I cannot wait to get it put together, quilted, and put on my bed. So join me next week for the final assembly. Have a great week. Stay safe and warm and keep stitching. Bye.